All right, everyone, welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. I have a treat for everyone today. I have one of our repeat guests back on, the amazing Mindi Huebner. I've known Mindi for years. We go way back now, and I've had the pleasure of working with her as a client as well for years. I believe so much in what she does and the impact that you have had on my life, Mindi. And today I wanted to have you on to talk about goals. Specifically, the acronym of SMART goals. So I have shared in some of my own prior episodes, my take on goal setting, what makes good goals, what doesn't, all of that. And I actually, one of the things I haven't shared before is back in my tech career, I had a long stint where I would be in charge of supporting teams that the ones that were going to write down specifically what the software we were building was supposed to do. And they would call them like requirements. And we leaned into that acronym as well, building those of the SMART requirements or SMART goals. And unfortunately, I see, and I'm sure you cringe when you see tons of experts and articles and all of that out there today that talk about the importance of setting SMART goals, because I know you have a very different take on this. So Mindi, why don't you introduce yourselves, and then we're going to break down what the SMART acronym is, and then dive into this conversation about what's really going on when it comes to goal setting and our conscious and subconscious.
Thank you. I am so excited to be back again. It feels like, who would always come on like the talk shows? They would always have like that person like, oh, we're going to have them back again to hang out with us. I love being here. I adore you, and your community is always so welcoming and so ready to learn. So thank you again for having me back. I'm Mindi. I'm an intuitive mindset mastery coach, the go-to coach for 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs who are so done with setting goals and not getting them. We're getting stuck with their limiting beliefs and ready to just unlock what that code is to get to where they want to go faster, with more ease and more joy. And today we're going to talk about how SMART goals are dumb, but you're not.
I love that. SMART goals are dumb, but you're not. That's right. We were chatting. I was like, do we be so bold as to say dumb? Because like in our household, like we always talk to her, like, that's a bad word. We don't say that. But I think we're going to be a little edgy today and just throw it out there. So SMART goals. I'm sure many of our listeners have heard of, everyone talking about the importance of, the reason you're failing at your goal setting is you haven't set SMART goals. So let's break down the acronym SMART and why they're called SMART goals. So S is, I'm going to see if I can remember them because it's been so long.
You and I are both, because this is not how I set goals.
So S stands for specific.
Yes,
they need to be specific.
Yeah.
The M is measurable.
Measurable.
The A is where I always get off. Is the A attainable? Measurable?
Yes, I believe it is. I believe it is.
Yeah, meaning that you're not like going, hey, I've never run a day in my life, but tomorrow I'm going to run a marathon. Like, Come on, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe 2 years from now. Okay, so attainable. Are realistic? I don't know. God, how embarrassing is this? This is why to me, I haven't used SMART goals in so long.
Me neither.
And then the T being time bound.
Timed. Yeah.
So we need to have an actual date. So the intent behind a quote SMART goal, again, is that you're getting very specific. You have things in place to measure your progress. You have it time bound. And so, it's kind of taking I've got my goal, but then I'm sort of have a plan in place to get there. So when we think about just that, like it sounds, hey, this is good. And the intent,
I don't hate it.
SMART goal.
I don't hate it. Yeah, I don't hate it. What I am not in love with is it is leaving out so many things for you. So while we're just tongue in cheek, like SMART goals are dumb, right? They're missing an essential ingredient. When you are setting this, you're doing this with your conscious brain. Your conscious brain is about 5% of what is going on.
Wait. When you say my conscious brain is 5%, does that mean like right now having this conversation with you, only 5% of my brain is firing, or what do you
Not,
mean by that?
not exactly. However, your programming, if we think about your conscious and your subconscious, roughly 95% of the things that go on, your attitudes, your unconscious processes, how you get up, how you breathe, how you the things that you do without thinking about them, your beliefs, your perceptions, like your emotional reaction patterns, habits, things like that. That's your subconscious. That's 95% of how things operate. So 5%, we'll just use these numbers. 5% is your conscious, like I'm consciously doing this, I'm consciously doing that. And all the other stuff is literally running in the back. So I just read this great book, and it's called The Ant and the Elephant. So just think about it like that, right? The ant is the conscious and the elephant is the subconscious. Like, just think about the difference in mass, right? This is why when we set a SMART goal consciously and we don't make shifts at the subconscious level, and we don't pull our subconscious in and align our conscious and subconscious, we set goals, but don't get them, because your conscious brain is the goal setter and your subconscious brain is the goal getter.
I love that. So your conscious brain is the goal setter. Your subconscious brain is the goal getter.
Yes.
Oh my God, okay, I have like 8,000 questions now that I want to ask you. So let me slow my roll.
I hope I can answer them all.
Yeah, we don't have that much time today. So for those listening who love to, such as myself, set goals, break them down into plans, get them built into our weekly plan to track them, measure them, all of that. What is it that we need to do to align them with our subconscious? And is that the right strategy? Is it that we want to align it with our subconscious, or how do we bring that in?
Yeah, we want to check in first, right? And so again, just for me, a goal is an aim, it's a direction, it's a purpose. Goals are essential, right? They're like, where are we going? What's the direction that we're going? Outcomes are what actually happen, right? So the outcome, the goal for the week is the plan, right? Like, this is the goal. And the outcome is how we executed the plan and how circumstances helped us out or didn't, right? And so then we have the outcome, we have the actual result. And so, as you know, with my clients, I take us from goals to 24-karat outcomes. Like, what outcome do we want to create? And in order to get there, we have this specific, measurable. Now, I do it a little bit differently. Like, I call it something else. I talk through mastering your outcomes, like what that needs to be. And we don't just write it out on paper. I want, to have $50,000, right, in my bank account by this date, and this and that. Like, we don't just do that. Like, that's great. And we get to then check in. Okay, well, what does my body say when I say this is? So
that was kind of an example of a goal that someone may have is, hey, I am going to save $50,000 let's say earn, maybe we're talking about someone who's running. Okay. I'm going to earn $50,000 by the end of the year. And you're going to have a plan of maybe the specific things that you are selling or making or whatever to achieve that. And so that seems like a specific, measurable, time-bound goal. Yes. And it's very conscious.
Yes.
So now when we shift into the check-in with the subconscious, what is
exactly? Exactly. What are the first thoughts that come up when we think about this thing that we say we want? Because we consciously say we want things all the time, right? I mean, and then what do? Like, I consciously want to sleep more. Like, I say, like, oh, I want more sleep. My body deserves sleep. And then what am I doing? 11 o'clock, doom scrolling, right? Like, what am I doing to myself here? Well, consciously, I said one thing, right? But subconsciously, I have not aligned that. And so we get to really check in with that. Like, where are we? What does this feel like in our body? What are the thoughts that come up when we say this? All of those pieces. So when we create a 24-karat outcome, I definitely like to do it in the future and work backwards. And And when I say backwards, it's not necessarily working backwards with, so I'm going to send, so if I want $50,000 by the end of the year, then how much income will I want to have brought in by this time because of how my business fluctuated in this quarter, right? It doesn't necessarily, we're not necessarily reverse engineering in that way. We are calling in the ways that our subconscious works, which is pictures and sounds and feelings. Pictures and sounds and feelings. So let's use a better example for your amazing people. I want to quarterly plan.
Okay, I love that. So we have a
Okay.
goal where I'm going to commit to doing my quarterly plan every single quarter this year.
Yes. So this is, that's a 120-day goal. Let's say if it's the next, so I love to work 30, 60, 90, 120 works great too. So we're in Q1 and we're like, okay, by the end of Q2, I want to have a quarterly plan in place. Like, this is who I want to be. And here's the next piece, right? We're not just muscling our way through. We are, again, okay, well, who do I get to be a quarterly planner? Like, what does that feel like? What does that look like? What does that taste like? What does that smell like? What does that sound like? Pictures and sounds and feelings are our subconscious. So when we bring all those things in, that is when we find that alignment between the way that we're consciously showing up and that we're supporting ourselves with our subconscious. Like, we're not this, right? We're not fighting. And so if it's quarterly planning, then I'm going to say, okay, it's now June 30th. I don't know, I'm making up a date right now, right? It's June 30th, and I am a queen bee quarterly planner. And now notice how we're saying I am, because this is beliefs, and our subconscious is in our beliefs, right? Like, this is where our beliefs come from. I am a queen bee quarterly planner. I am enjoying the ease that has come with mapping out my quarter in advance. I see the spaces on my calendar that are already taken, the white space that's available to me, the whatever, right? I see. What am I seeing? So when you're quarterly planning, what are you seeing, Megan? Like, if you were to sit back at the end of a quarter, like if you went to the end of it and you were like, oh, here's what I see as I'm breathing in, being a queen bee of quarterly planning.
I say the biggest thing that I always see is I see that I am not feeling like I am sprinting through a marathon, last minuting everything in exhaustion, because I have planned accordingly, and therefore I get to do the things that are most important and meaningful in ways that don't stress me out.
Amazing. So I'm going to invite everyone, because we know what we don't want. That was, Megan was really clear. Like, I'm not sprinting, I'm not stressing, I'm not doing this. Let's flip that. Let's reframe it. So it's now June 30th. And I am sitting here breathing in this amazing quarterly plan. Like, I showed up for myself. I feel amazing. I see the ease that comes with planning, how I created space by not waiting until the last minute, and start talking yourself, you're calling it in. So we're saying these words, but we're seeing now, and I feel like I can take a big, deep breath. And I feel like there's lots of space externally and internally. And I feel XYZ in my mind. So we get to talk about feelings internally and externally, because again, subconscious thinks in pictures and sounds and feelings. And so we're consistently taking the conscious and wiring it up with that. We want those two things in alignment, so that when we go, I'm a quarterly planner, you are like flooded with the feelings and the sounds and the pictures that means for you, right? What connections have you made? What does that mean? So I hear my family, right, having fun and enjoying our time together, because I've chosen a different way to show up, right? I've chosen a less stressful way. to get through our quarter together, like all of those pieces. So I see, I hear, I feel internally and externally. When we know, and when we're talking about knowing in the way of like diving into a swimming pool of knowing. So I taste, what am I tasting as a queen bee quarterly planner? You know, for me, I'm tasting water, coffee. I have both right now, right? Nespresso. I just want to add espresso. I'm addicted. And I'm not ashamed. I am tasting, right, this hot cup of coffee because I have the time to enjoy it. Boom, boom, boom. We can call this visualization. It's more than that because not everybody sees visually, like can cast a vision. So it's okay if you feel less than versed in casting a vision. You get to hear the vision, you get to feel the vision, you get to smell the vision. Like for me, it's also going to smell like bergamot essential oil. Like that's my go-to energizing, like here I am oil, right? So you get to put all those pieces into place that way. So now we've gone from setting this specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timed goal. Hopefully,
I think those are right.
To now we have a 24 karat outcome. Now we have taken those pieces and we have connected our conscious and subconscious. We've aligned ourselves. What we didn't talk about, but that is important, and we touched on it, was we cannot hustle our beliefs. So if we say we want this goal, but we don't believe that we have what it takes to get it, well, we will self-sabotage. This is with everything. So another one of the pieces on the 24 karat, creating a 24 karat outcome, we're seeing, we're hearing, we're feeling, we're tasting, we're diving into a swimming pool of, and we got here because, and this is where we pat ourselves on the back for tapping into all our internal resources. So we call this a future paced outcome because remember, we're saying it's now June 30th, got my hot cup of coffee, quesos by my feet. I'm so expansive because I've quarterly planned.
For those of you that don't know, queso is the name of my dog. I don't keep a pool of cheese dip at my feet, although that sounds delightful as well.
Silly me. I just assumed that everyone would know queso was your
dog. She does make an appearance on the regular.
So we get to, I achieved this because, all right, friend, now is where you brag about yourself. Now is where you dig deep. Now is where you pull out those internal resources. I achieved this because I deserve it. I achieved this because I got my family on board to not bother me during whatever, right? I achieved this because I set boundaries and held them for myself. I achieved this because I'm smart. I achieved this because I'm funny. I achieved this because I can pivot, right? Like what are all the...
And we're saying all of these as we are establishing or creating this goal. So when we're saying these statements of what I've done, we're talking to our future self. This isn't at the end of the goal, right?
Right. So I'm going in like order of when I fill out a 24 karat outcome. And these are all, as we're talking through it, it's now June 30th and I am a queen bee quarterly planner and I see and I hear and I feel and I achieve this because, right? Nothing gets in my way from having that internal space that allows me to show up at my best and really like give to people the way I want to give, right? Like, and I achieved this because I took time for myself. I made sure I prioritized, weekly runs. XYZ, like how are the ways, what are all the things you did, all the internal resources you tapped into to support yourself? And maybe one of your internal resources is, and it's not even a maybe, everyone has this one, it's did we employ it? I achieved this because I asked for help because I know that I am worthy of support and I deserve support. So I Googled, I read a book, I got a coach, I asked a friend, I co-opted some, childcare time or whatever, right? Like, tap into how magnificent you already are. So this whole process, what we're doing, right? We're using affirmations without knowing it. right? We're using visualization, and that's the embodiment of, we are rewiring our brain.
And is this all tying, is this now connecting us to our subconscious with this by going through this
All of these
type?
pieces.
Okay. So all of this, because again, this is not my zone of genius. I'm so very black and white with a lot of this stuff. I'm like, but if I'm saying it and writing it down, isn't that my conscious? How am I calling in my subconscious?
Yes,
during
and
this?
so you're saying it and you're writing it down, but you're embodying your pictures and sounds and feelings. You're
Okay.
tapping into what the subconscious operates in. Beliefs, feelings, emotions, all of those pieces. So we want to pull that in, because I can logically write down, I want to run 3 times this week, right? Here's my goal. I'm going to run 3 times this week. Okay, well, I set that with my goal setting brain. Now my goal getting brain, my subconscious, right, is like, okay, well, how are we going to feel? What makes this compelling to us? Like, we can say it all day long, and then it's going to come time and we're maybe not going to feel like it. Everybody's been there, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
and so instead, when we set the outcome, and remind me to, like, I want to tap on one more thing too. We're going to, of course, talk about James Clear.
Of course.
When we call that in, like, I've set this on my calendar for 3 times this week, like, set this sacred space for myself to take care of myself in a way that I love. Okay. It's now 5 minutes after my run. And what do I see? And what do I hear? And what do I feel? And why did I achieve this? Right? Like, all of those pieces, we totally pull in the embodiment of. The other thing that we're doing there is we are switching from going for a run to being a runner, right? We're not
Yeah, so
muscling our
good.
way to one time being a quarterly planner. Any of us can, well, if you're a Planapalooza member, as my hand is raised, for those of you that can't see us, if you're a Planapalooza member, right, or a member of the other planning, your planning program, then you teach us how to do that. We can show up and muscle our way through. No shade to you, because you're amazing. But if I don't believe it and I don't pull in all my pieces, I can muscle my way through quarterly planning and not embody nor enjoy the process. However, when I decide to start rewiring and start pulling in and aligning my subconscious with this outcome of quarterly planning, I can now cast votes towards being a quarterly planner all the time. Because how does she show up? And what does she look like? What does she think? Like, when she picks out a new planner, or when she looks at her calendar, right? Is she hearing Megan in her head saying, like, don't just say yes. like say, I'll need to check my calendar at home too. Like, so that you're giving yourself space, right? All the things that you share with us to make this difference for us. So if we get our subconscious on board and start to embody the humans who, our quarterly planners, our weekly planners, are, right, like, all of that, we'll be casting votes all the time. And that's literally rewiring every single time we do it. And we'll create.
I love this. And, a lot of people, and I have teach us as well, the importance of, anytime I'm embarking on a new goal, is really connecting with the why part of it. But this takes the why to a whole different level. And it's so much more. So it's one thing to say, okay, here's why this is important to me and want to do it. It's a whole other to go down and connect to all those parts of our subconscious. I feel like it takes that why and then blows it up to cover all aspects.
Exactly. So for those of you who have never tuned into Megan and I before, your brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on your beliefs. And so since your beliefs are subconscious, then you get to start recognizing when you set the goal to be a quarterly planner. You say consciously, it's gonna be June 30th, I'm gonna quarterly plan. What's going on? What's the first thing that pops up in your head? What's the little voice telling you? Did your tummy just go, that sounds like something that's not fun. That sounds like something I don't want to do. Okay, then we get to dig into, and we get to remember structures, freedom. Like, the more we lean into creating the container for our success on a subconscious level, the more expansive humans we get to, like, in all things, because we start practicing casting the votes here. And you said it, we're speaking to our future self. This way, our future self is also like saying to us, like, we got this, like, you just keep casting those votes most of the time. And we're becoming this human. We are embodying the identity, not just muscling our way, right, to something, because that is not sustainable. And so that's why when we say we want something, but we don't make those internal, those subconscious changes, as well as environmental changes for us, that's why it's so hard and it's so much work. And then we're not goal getters. We're just goal setters.
Yeah. So maybe instead of saying that SMART goals aren't smart, it's just SMART goals are incomplete.
They are incomplete.
Just missing a couple letters to the acronym to bring
Yes.
in all the parts of the subconscious.
Absolutely. Because if you're like math planning brain, right? And mine is not a math planning
Which
brain.
is me.
Yes. Probably very much loves those parameters and those types of things, right? Like you said, it's black and white. In math, there's always an answer. Well, in the subconscious, there's not always a clear, like, right?
Right.
You just go with a knowing, as opposed to here is the decimal point answer, right? Like, it's a knowing, it's a feeling, it's different. And so you still get to tap into those. And we were teasing saying they're dumb, right? You still get to tap into them and use that. And you get to put in the secret ingredient, the missing ingredient that so many people, right, don't even know. And that's how to align your subconscious with it, so that you can make those lasting changes.
So good. And truly, I think when you can layer the very pragmatic 5% conscious brain aspects of goal setting, which is my happy place,
Absolutely.
with then all of those subconscious skills together,
Yes.
that's really going to be where the magic happens. And what's been interesting for me is you walked me through one of these exercises a while back. I didn't know that that's what she was doing at the time. It's all clicking for me now. But I go back and read that often as tied to one of the goals that I have for myself. And it is covering feeling and sensing and what I'm seeing, and it's the future Megan. And these things are always uncomfortable for me because I am so pragmatic. And I was like, a little bit of an eye roll, but I will tell you, going back and reading them, every time I read it, I feel so much more empowered and connected to what I'm working toward, that I'm finding for myself. A question I get a lot, and I know you must get a lot too, is, Megan, how do I stay motivated? Right. But how do I have a willpower? This is what is fueling that motivation for me on days where it might feel hard, or I feel off, or I feel out of whack, or I'm questioning things. Having that part of my goal to go back and connect with is what fuels me to work through the stages and parts sometimes that aren't as fun. Whereas just a goal statement, a SMART goal statement, is likely not always going to be enough to get you super excited about getting through some of the harder parts.
Exactly. No, 100. And what I love about how you said you go back and look at it, this is, your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. Like, think about that. Think about the last movie you saw, the last book you read, you laughed, you cried, you got scared, right? You were on the edge of your seat. It was fake. You knew it was fake. Your brain, though, was triggering your body to react how you would react for real, right? So your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So as you imagine, as you vision out, as you feel it and hear it and taste it and smell it, you're teaching your body how it's going to feel, so that each time you cast a vote now for that Megan, your body's like, this is us. Like we're her. We're already her. We're just unlocking, unlocking, unlocking. We're wiring and wiring and wiring to be the full embodiment of her, but we're casting votes. Like we're constantly showing up as her. And it will allow your Raz to switch so that, oh, here's a way that I can cast a vote that we couldn't, we didn't necessarily see before, because it wasn't in our forefront, because we were deleting, distorting, and generalizing based on the belief that quarterly planning is constrictive and I won't have any fun and all the lies that we tell ourselves about planning, right? So now, once you start rewiring that belief and that emotional response and your attitudes about it, and you start proving it to yourself, oh, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is going to start sending you ways to show up like that you never thought of before, ways that feel easy and expansive, easier, more joyful. Like so many different things will start coming at you to help you create these 24-karat outcomes so that you can be in full alignment all the time with that.
Oh, this was so good. I feel like it's it's almost like next level goal planning. It's really giving yourself all the armor, all the tools, all the everything that maybe the tools we don't so easily see, touch, to set ourselves up for this. So for folks that are wanting to dive more into this and really learning how to go through this process and connecting their subconscious to their conscious with their goals, what are some resources that you have available? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I have a masterclass.
Okay, well, perfect then.
please come and join me. A live masterclass. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions. We'll walk through. We'll do a little pre-work. And when I say pre-work, I mean, it'll be on the masterclass. It's less than 45 minutes long. Promise is totally worth it. You will walk away with a giant breakthrough about who you get to be. Right? About how to connect and align your conscious and subconscious. We'll do a little pre-work to remember how our brain works and what are the essential keys to get what we want, and then dive right into creating a 24-karat outcome in the area of whatever you desire. And that's the other thing too, is that when we create a 24-karat outcome, we did not get as detailed as we will get on the thing, because those details are magic, right? Because that's what calls it in. Like I'm tasting my half calf Nespresso, right? Like really calling in the details so that I am in the moment of it. And we'll walk through all those things.
Okay, we're gonna, I will make sure that we have a link to where people can go to sign up for the masterclass in the show notes. So definitely encourage you all to do that. I will say it was a very, as I mentioned, it's something I go back and leverage and reread and reuse. And it, I feel like I am feeling my goals for the first time. Like I've always seen them, I've been driven by them, but it's different to actually feel it. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. And guys, this is the most, I am telling you this from a math major, pragmatic, real black and white kind of person. So if I can go through this and truly see and feel a different way of establishing, creating, and achieving goals, I think it's something everybody should experience once. So I'm thrilled to hear that you're going to be offering this masterclass. So definitely, guys, check out the link to the show notes. Run, do not walk. Get signed up for that. Is there anything else that you want to share about this today, Mindi?
I want people to be able to switch at the subconscious level, to make those changes at the identity level, to go from muscling their way to planning once to becoming planners and embodying it and enjoying it. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Because of what it offers for you, because of what opens up when you become the human who. Like that's just always what it is, becoming the human who. And you get to do that like starting right now, right? You get to start thinking about what that would get to feel like and sound like and taste like and smell like and all those things.
Oh, I love it. Thank you again so much for your time. It's always a treat to have you here. And where should people, where can they reach out to follow you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I really love me some TikTok.
I am not there. I do not talk on the tick or tick on the talk. That is that is one of my boundaries. But I do follow Mindi on Instagram. We've got a link to that as well in the show notes. I would encourage you guys to do the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you.